Hey everyone, let's check our video and voice, please. What is this? If everybody's here and the the connection is correct, is fine. Can you put a let's say number 1 in chat, please, or a plus? Yeah, whatever is more convenient for you, so that we could just check our connection, please, guys. If everybody hears me and sees me, please put a plus in the chat box, if that's fine. Okay, I can see only 3 guys. I hope it's not everybody. Yeah, hi everyone. Good. Okay, so everybody's connecting. Since I don't know if we're expecting anybody else to come, can we please spend some 5 maybe or 2-3 minutes to find out who's coming from where? If you could write down which country or city you're currently in, so that we could at least get to know each other a little bit. Russia, Dubai, Sami, okay. Dubai, Jim, good. Radha, Dubai as well. All right. Dennis is Russia, okay. Gideon, St. Petersburg now. Stockholm, Henrik, nice to meet you. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, so quite a understandable distribution in between between the areas that we're trying to prepare. Okay, good. So that we don't get a lot to dive into the details of what we're going to have in Dubai on September 27th. Also, it would be great if you could probably write down in the chat box the name of your project and just briefly, in a short sentence, what it is all about, so that again, once we go through the presentation now, maybe some of the things that we're going to describe today or discuss today would be based on some of the examples that we could be using with your particular presentation, your particular project. Okay, right. So please, wow, guys, just a little bit less, okay, Gideon, and all the rest, please. Reward-based communities on blockchain, Kick City. Okay, got it. Swissborg, yes, Anthony, I remember you guys. Private banking, smart contracts, VAT chain, Sami, okay. Anybody else? Quite interesting, yeah. Chromaway, one of the oldest blockchain companies in 2012. Great, wow, interesting. Do all sorts of things, got it, okay. Jamalima, Dubai luxury taxi. Okay, Arthur, yeah, I think I remember you then. Got it, okay. Good. Has any one of you heard of Asset Digital? Got it, right, okay. Has any one of you heard anything about CryptoBazar, InvestBazar before our meeting right now? If you could put also a plus or minus in the chat box, so I know if we need to spend time on that. No, got it. Okay, a little bit, yeah, got it. Okay, so let me then spend maybe a few minutes on describing who we are, what are we doing, and how we could be helpful to projects to raise money specifically through ICO or through private placements. And later on, we'll spend a little bit more time discussing what is going to happen on September 27th in Dubai. Okay, so just a few words about myself and why I believe that there's something you could say about private investments. So my name is Oleg. I come from Russia apparently, although. For about 6.5 years, I worked outside of Russia and combined about 13 countries. ranging from like traditional Western European countries down to even Saudi Arabia, some of the more exotic places like Cabo Verde and many more. I come from like a traditional business. It's related to FMCGs, fast-moving consumer goods companies like beverages, food, and so on and so forth. Worked there as a consultant, then as an employee, a hired employee. Then I launched a project that's my own company that was based in the energy drinks. Some of those who are in Russia mostly might notice it. It's called Tornado, and we managed to get a number 5 position market share after such companies like Cola, Pepsi, Red Bull, and Carlsberg, Scottish and Newcastle, basically, which represented the local brand Baltica. Then I sold this company in 2012. After that, launching another beverage business, and then apart from that, launched InvestBazar as a platform that helps small companies like myself and startups and actual companies to raise money, not through like venture capitalists, not through banks, because in many cases it's very difficult. Those who actually face the same problems or did face the same problems. If you could join me with this pain, so to say, it would be great if you could put a plus as well in the chat box if it is difficult for you to raise money. Yeah, it would be great to hear from you. So yeah, having this difficulty, because when I was raising money for my own project, I went through like dozens and dozens of banks, went through 200 something venture funds in Russia and internationally, and nowhere did I manage to receive a single penny, basically. But all the money that eventually I raised, which is this considerable amount of $90 million that I raised for the project, I raised through private individuals, basically some individual people who managed to who decided to basically invest into this this or that project. And the practice that came out from there, I put into a program that's basically a platform that was called InvestBazar in 2013, and since that time we have about 50,000 followers in our database, about 3.5 thousand investors from different locations. Surprisingly, we have since that time we built about 40 countries of our network, mostly of course Russian speaking, of some of our basically compatriots, if we could call them like this, living in various locations and deciding to launch their own businesses, and we help them to raise over $20 million through all these deals. Probably not a huge amount of money, but still quite considerable for most of the people. And what we have is two platforms. Again, one of them is what we're focusing on at the moment, is CryptoBazar. It's basically a platform that allows small businesses to raise money through private individuals. And this year, once we looked very deeply into the area of cryptocurrencies, due to very high growth of this phenomenon, of course, especially coupled with very successful ICOs. And in our understanding, we realized that, okay, this is a new area of 4 companies and 4 startups to raise money, just in a new form, but these are still the private money. If you, I'm sure you would understand this as well. And we decided to dive into this because this is the area where we could be helpful as well with our database of private individuals and some of the businesses, to learn on this, learn these effects, and provide this support to different projects. So basically, yeah, these are some of the pictures from some of our events. maybe for you to have this feeling of what's going to happen in Dubai in September 27th. I think for those who came a little bit earlier, you did have had a chance to actually go through some of the videos. Unfortunately, with too much Russian, I'm sorry, in the background, but apparently this is what's going to happen in Dubai. So basically, what I wanted to pay attention to today is pretty much two things. Number one is to go through the rules of CryptoBazar event that is going to take place in September 27th, and second, to go through some of the key things that we would like to expect from you as projects, so that you're more prepared to present your case in front of a very, very big audience. We're expecting about I think 500 to 600 viewers. I don't know if the organizers, is our partners in Dubai, are still here. If you could guys write it down, this would be great as well. So yeah, about 500 to 600 people is going to be there. About 1/3 of that is definitely going to be investors. Some of them that are coming from the Russian-speaking community, so to say, to Dubai. Some of them would, of course, be international. Now, let's go down into these details. So this slide, I would pretty much recommend you to take a snapshot of this slide, because the dates would be of quite good importance to you. So basically today we have a very brief meeting to discuss some of the terms and conditions, some of the things that are of most importance for you as projects to prepare for your presentation in front of the audience. I think it would keep us about an hour and a half to go through some of the details, and maybe if you have questions later on, we could definitely go through them just after the end of it. So the second thing, which is going to happen on Saturday 16th, in 5 days from now, you would need to send your presentation in English on the address that is listed here, info@investbazar.pro, so that we know that, okay, those who send your presentations are those who would be taking part in our next session. And the next session as well is online. And this is pretty much a test drive, an online test drive, where you would present your project in front of me and the audience of those who would be present there online, within a very, very short time frame, pretty much the same time frame as it is going to be at any pitch session pretty much anywhere in the world. So you would go to online, you would have about 3 minutes to present your project. Then we would have about 3 to 5 minutes for questions and answers, where I would be asking your questions in the form of a mean investor and trying to find out a little bit more about your projects and the offer that you're making for the investor. And after that, we're taking a short time for our internal discussions, and within about a couple of days, we're going to say who's going to be present, who's going to be allowed to actually present your project on the stage of CryptoBazar in Dubai on Wednesday, 27th of September at 5 o'clock local time. So please just mark these things in your calendar, because it's going to take some time and some effort to actually be on time and present and get the presentations ready for this. Now, could you put also a plus in the chat box for those who actually had a chance to present your projects in front of the audience? Did you ever participate in any pitch sessions? If yes, please put a plus. If no, put a minus, please, so that it would be great to see who had these. Good. So pretty much everybody. Okay. So this. These, well, let's say the limitations of time, right? Where you would have about 3 to 5 minutes to actually present the whole thing, and it's quite limited in time. Okay, good. Could we also continue in terms of just to check your stage of preparation? Those who have presentations in English for like 3 to 5 minutes presentation in front of the audience, put a plus, please. Those who don't, put a minus, because you might have a very expanded presentation for a really long talk, or maybe you don't have it all put in the slides and all. So yeah, if not, you still have time to prepare everything, and we'll go through some of the things to actually go through them at the moment, which is fine. Again, you still have time, but it would be great, of course, if we see those who are still need time for the preparation. Okay, I got it. So pretty much everybody has, except for Sami and Walid bin Nasi, right? Okay, good. So you guys, yeah, if you need any support on this, please let us know so that we could, give you a hand maybe on some of the things. Okay. Now, so basically, when we go to the second stage, Hussein as well. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so let's just go through some practical things that we need to do, for the preparation whenever we're getting ready with our presentations for these things. For those who are already prepared, I'm sorry that you would probably go through some of the basic things, but I'm sure they are never enough to actually pay attention to what's most important. So basically, what I wanted to pay attention to is three things basically. First, what we need to expect as presenters from the pitch session. Second thing is the structure of ideal investment presentation. We'll go through what's most important within the 3-minute speech session, and what should be done after the presentation is over, so that your presentation is most successful. And the success, of course, is the number of contacts that you get from this audience. Now, if you could ask you a question, when you go to the speech sessions, what is your expectation? Could you please write it down in the chat as well? Again, just once more, right? When you present your project in front of the audience, what do you expect the audience to do? Why do you do this? Just a very quick question. And while I'm expecting some answers from you, I'll have a small drink here. Give money. Get attention to project. What else? What else, guys? So you're standing on the stage, both attention and feedback, okay? Validate the idea, provide mentoring, give money, raise money. Jawad, okay, Sami got it. Walid, to impress them and that the project holds profit potential, warm up potential investors. Market validation from investor perspective. Okay. Understand USPs. Got it. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. I'm sure most of you already did have presentations in front of the audience, and I did it as well, when I was raising money for my own projects. And here's very interesting. Here's one thing that's very, very interesting, and that what we got from our audience of InvestBazar projects since 2013. What is our expectation? When we as founders of the projects, when we go on stage, we expect to look like this, right? Those who find themselves in this situation, put a plus, please, in the chat box. So basically, yeah, we expect that everybody would love us. That now all the spotlights are facing us. We are the stars of the show, and that everybody would just line up to give us the money, right? Now, what usually happens, unfortunately, is this, right? is when we come to the event, we present the project, we go away, sit in some corner on the chair, and we expect that everybody would line up to us, so that they would just give us money and so on. Why this is happening, guys? And yeah, we would be just waiting forever and ever for a phone call from these people. Why is this happening? Do you know why this is happening? Yeah, any reasons, any thoughts? Why, in most cases, when we present our projects to a big audience of people, usually it ends up in a situation where we just, we come up to the stage. It's a very, let's say, it's a stressful situation, no matter how prepared we are, right? So all the hormones are, dancing within our body, and we're feeling high, right? We're feeling very energetic. So after that, we're feeling very excited. And no matter what we do, no matter what we say, we always feel like we did a fantastic job, because again of all the biochemistry within the body. Now, and the problem is that we don't measure the result of this, right? We need to tell why they need it, not describe the project, not clear return on investment and clear exit, investor not interested, Sami. Exactly, yeah. Most of the things, you're exactly saying the right thing, right? Not many, most of the times when we present our project, we present it mostly for ourselves. When we try to convince the investors of how important it is for ourselves to actually implement this or that project, if you know what I mean. And the problem is that we are forgetting about the motives of investor. Who would agree with me, please put a plus in the chat box. It means that we stress too much time and too much effort on why this project should be realized. Why is it important to the to the world or to the clients and to us as founders? And we really forget about the motives of investors most of the times. It happens over and over and over again, and we keep forgetting what they want. And before going to this, can we just we need to realize that any investment deal is just really about selling. Again, who agrees with this? Put a, I don't know, another plus, let's say. So it's just about selling. We need to sell something to the investor so that he pays us money for something. Now, if we understand that a typical investment deal is just about selling, then let me ask you a question. Is this possible for somebody to sell anything to a person if we don't know their needs or their motives? If you agree that it's just impossible, put a minus, of course. Because if you come up to a person and if you don't know why he's here in the first place, why is he trying to, I don't know, if he wants to buy a cup of coffee, right? If he doesn't want coffee, it's just impossible to sell it to him, right? If he's not thirsty, if he's not feeling down, you need to sell some benefit from it, right? If you know the difference between the characteristics and the benefits of the product. So if we don't know why investor is sitting here, it's quite impossible to sell our product to them, our project to them as a product, pretty much. And surprisingly, we need to, again, once we start thinking about the motives of investors as our first priority, so in the first place, we have to think about how I can help him reach his targets, complete his, his needs, basically, right? Realize his needs as a first motive for us through our project as an instrument. Then the magic starts happening. So for those who, this is a very important thought, basically, that the motives of the investor and the needs of the investor are of primary importance. And our project is basically a tool for him to reach his target. So that's for those again who would agree with this, please put a plus in the chat box. This is very important. Now, and before going to further details, let me ask you a question. What do you think a motive for the investor is? Why is investor investing his money in the project? Please write your comments again in the chat box. What do you think? Why anybody in his right mind would just invest his personal money, hard-earned mostly, right? Profit, increase amount of money, make huge ROI, interest in the industry. See, that's very interesting, because we already have three definitions of actually three motives, right? Profit, that's maybe a very generic, right? Make huge ROI, so small ROI is not of a very big interest, right? And the third thing is interest in the industry, right? So it's a third motive. It's very different, and maximize his equity value. Okay, world a better place. Good. So see, there's so many motives that we're already having in our heads as set priorities. See, most of the times we're thinking, okay, he just wants a profit, which is correct. But then let's ask ourselves another question. Every project is offering some profit, right? Who would agree with this? Again, put a plus in the chat box. And when you offer a profit of, let's say, 30% return of investment, is it better than, let's say, 15% or worse? So, yeah, could you please write it down again also. So 30%, is it, who would choose 30%, write 30. Who would choose 15%, write 15. You see two projects, you're an investor. One of them is offering 30%, another one is 15%. It's about profit, right? Of course, 30% is better. But then let me put another very, very interesting. Yeah, let's. You're right, Walid. You're right. But then again, there's so many additional things to it, right? Let me put it this way. And what if I say that if in these two projects, the one that gives you 30% will give it to you in 5 years' time only, and 15% you would get within 2 weeks. So what do you think now? Which project is better? See, so the things change completely, right? And so I mean, and we can just go through these things over and over and over again. So we think that profit is something that is very understandable for us, and it's for us as founders, right? As entrepreneurs, as those who would be building business. And we don't think that the idea of making money is very versatile for any investor, and it's there is no set rule for any investor to measure this or that project to make sure that this is the priority for like a standard for any business. It's not. And in order to show you some of the examples of how it's working, I can give you just a brief understanding of what we call it. We called it a funny classification of investors, of private investors' needs within InvestBazar. Because once we built our database of 3.5 thousand investors, we ran several questionnaires through them to trying to identify what are these people, what do they want, and so on and so forth. And we came up, so you understand, we came up with 23 different motives of investors. Can you imagine that? 23 very, very different ones. So some of them I will show it to you, like an example. What we call this guy, first motive, is a surfer, a Thai or Bali surfer. Basically, what he's saying to you is that here's my, I don't know, $100,000. I give it to you. Do whatever you want with your business. Just make sure that on the first of each month you send me your, my $1,000 on this bank account, because I'm going to Bali or Thailand, and I'm going to be surfing there. So I don't want to give, be bothered about your project. Just make sure that you pay on time. That's one motive, right? Because he just doesn't want to dive deep into your project. Another one, we call him a patient fisherman. basically what he says is that he says, okay, look, I give you the money. I want to take part of your profits. I understand that through the first months or years, we're going to be like without any profit. Maybe sometimes you would need more money. But then I do believe that there is going to be a time when your profits are going to be very considerable, and I want to take a big chunk of this. So another motive, as you can see, it comes from, it is very different from the previous one, right? Third one, capital growth seeker. This is a traditional venture fund sort of thing, right? When you say, okay, I'm investing in your company for 3 years, it has to grow, you know, the cap, basically the capitalization of your company has to, well, basically, yeah, it grows in value, and then later on, in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, I want to sell my share to a next investor or through IPO or through somebody else. Another game, as you can see, right? Completely different. A fourth one, what we call a toy for someone special. Basically, when a person says, look, I have a family, I have a son, a daughter, or a mother or father, and I want them to be busy with something, right? To, you know, have a marketing agency, or to code with some team of guys, or I don't know, have a garden and grow some vegetables so that can be sold on the private market and so on. And I'm ready to invest this. I'm ready to invest this amount of money to your business so that you could support, you know, the employment basically of my special one. And it happens over and over again in a lot of countries, from what I know, whenever we speak to some of our audiences. Fifth, a researcher. It's exactly what I don't remember somebody told us today in the chat box. When you would like to investigate this or that area, let's put it this way: you're a company, small, big, doesn't matter. You have your audience, right? Your clientele, and you understand that basically you can start selling something additional to your clients, either a new service or a new product. But to develop this from scratch, right? It's about investing a lot of time, a lot of money, finding people, managing them, you know, spending lots of time really for this. And it's a big risk, right? Because all of the money that you're investing, it's going to be your risk. And here you have a company that's already halfway through the process. They need just a few steps to actually, you know, complete whatever needs to be completed. To actually launch their product. So why don't I just help them to, you know, invest some money into them, see if they're successful, if they could be beneficial to me in a strategic sense, basically, and if it is, if they are, later on we can discuss some additional terms on this. So you can see it's another motive. So these motives we can just go through them for many times. And the reason I just showed it to you is because there's something I wanted to really stress here a lot is really about the motives of investors. So every time when you would be faced with investors, usually within with your private talks, right? Not of course during the pitch sessions, because it's impossible. But before you start talking to an investor, it is a very good idea to actually start asking questions to him to find out why this specific investor is thinking about investing his money. Usually, all our usual talks and with meetings with investors are, you know, traditionally like this, right? You sit down at the table or on a Skype, and the investor says, okay, now we're meeting here to listen to you and your project, right? So please tell us what it is all about. And you start right off the track, right? Right on. Just start telling your presentation. And at this specific moment, it's better to just slow down a little bit and say, okay, definitely I would describe it in very brief details. But if you don't, if you're okay with this, it would be great if you could you allow me just to ask you a few questions, you know, for like 2-3 minutes, and then just go through the questions. apparently this is not your first deal. So could you please tell me just maybe about your expertise? What areas are you usually investing in? What is the size of your investment ticket? What are the projects that you like maybe recently entered? What are the good things about them? What are the bad things about you like about them or you don't like about them? That's the first set of questions. The second set of questions is where you would never invest ever, and for what reason? And then listen to the person who would say that, okay, you know, we don't go to this industry or that industry for this or that specific reason. And number three, you say, okay, what is the reason you invest in now? I mean, is it for growing your capital to, you know, sort of maximize at times certain amount that you have now? Or is it about some fixed, you know, flow of income, regular income that you would receive monthly or quarterly? Is it about some special occasion for your current business or for your current involvement, or is it something else? And then just listen what they're saying. Can we all know this information about investors before the pitches, like you collected in email? It is prior to the event. It's a very good question, Sami. Yes, it's a very good question. Now, unfortunately, the only thing I could advise here, of course, is to just read about those people who will be present. And as you know, most of the organizers, they are, in order to, you know, show the importance of this or that event, they are usually stating who's going to be present there through the board of investors. And usually, most of those who would be in the board, of course, you would find it out on the like landing page or website, and you could just Google them, you know, Google information about them, and find it out through their websites or social media, you know, resources and so on. But if you usually it's not enough anyway. But what happens usually, of course, is when that's exactly the second slide that you know, where I wanted to pay attention to this whole thing. Let me just answer it maybe in a different form. So let's put it this way. Usually, in real life, all investment deals are made through two different approaches. You have lots of public speeches, like pitch sessions, exactly like the one that's going to happen through the at the event of CryptoBazar on September 27th, where you have like 3 to 5 minutes for the presentation and then another set of 3 to 5 minutes for questions and answers through the audience. Apparently, it's not enough. It's never enough. So what happens afterwards is you trying to organize a personal meeting, an eye-to-eye meeting, and that's where all the deals are made. For those who understand this, please put a plus in the chat box. Now, it is never going to happen that after your presentation in front of a big audience, online, offline, doesn't matter, anybody would come up to you and say, look, where's your bank account? You know, I want to transfer some money to you. I mean, it never happens, really. So that means that, number one, all the deals are happening only during personal meetings with this or that investor. And there you can set up your talk exactly like we discussed previously, right? So you sit at the table, the investor is expecting you to talk, and you just, before you're talking, you ask him all these questions. By the time the investor answers you these questions, you have a full, complete picture of what this investor is all about, right? Why is he investing this money? What is his profile? What is his comfortable set of rules in terms of the amount of money, the industries, the time frame, the way he earns the money, and so on, where he would never, ever give a single penny in which industries, and what exactly he is trying to do at the moment, you know, by looking for the projects and for themselves. Knowing this beforehand, before you ever said a single word about your project, allows you to tie in your presentation to actually fulfill these needs. For those who would agree with this, put a plus in the chat box. So the investor, before you ever said a single word, right? He knows exactly. I mean, you know exactly how through your presentation through your project as a tool, you would allow this investor to reach his targets, basically, to complete his needs. And that's what's done on the personal meetings. That means that all the public speech sessions, they're all about just one task. Number one, make sure that these people are interested in you. And number two, get contacts. These are the two topics. Now, the funniest thing is that the more information you give to the people, to the audience, and to the investors in front or during the public speech session, the less of interest you are to them. What it means is that you need to, well, not really surprise them, but you need to give them so much information that it would stimulate them to ask more questions to you. So if this is clear, please put a plus as well, because this is very, very important. Within the 3 minutes, you're not asked to answer all questions that are in the heads of the audience. It's impossible. Your task is to really stimulate them, to interest them, to make sure that they're interested in learning more about your project. And every question that is going to happen through this speech session, you would practically, on some of the questions, you would give a very full answer, but on most of the cases, you would say, I'm ready to discuss this later on because we're limited in time, so please let's discuss it, during the coffee break. And the task, and then you go around all these people and you collect business cards. If you didn't collect, let's say, 10 to 15 business cards, it means that, you as a founder, you as a person who got a stage, did not work well through this time. Again, it's very, very important. The time that is given there, it is given exactly to set up personal meetings, nothing more. And if you didn't get like 10 to 15, at least the contacts, or as the biggest challenge for this thing is, of course, is to set up the meetings, like personal meetings afterwards, then it means that all this time was wasted for granted. So again, just very, very clear, right? Pitch sessions, it's about collecting business cards, making sure that investors are interested to ask more questions. So the more questions they ask you, the better it is for you. And then your task is collect these business cards and set personal meetings where all the magic will happen, of course, or not. All right, let's move on. Let's see. What do I have next? Yeah, the structure of an ideal presentation. Now, the first thing that we need to understand as well is that, again, through our expertise since 2013, we've seen tons of projects in different countries, in different segments, and every time there is a deal with an investor, it's always a time when the investor has 4 reactions to your project. It's about, first reaction is that the investor believes in your project. To make sure that the investor would get this belief, right, that they would believe in the project, it requires us to do certain work. It requires us to show that there is a certain market, that there is a niche within this market, and there's enough room to actually make some money, and the money is feasible. You can make it. Usually there is no problem with this part. I mean, with us as founders. Second thing that we need to show to the investor, so that there is a second reaction of the investor, and the investor needs to believe in the team. Now, surprisingly, out of all the investment offers that I receive on my, like email or personal accounts in social media resources, about half of the projects that I receive don't have a single word about those who would be implementing this project. So not a word. And this, of course, is really funny. I mean, from I'm sure you understand this because now imagine you found a lot of very interesting projects, like I don't know, or the projects that you are sure that would bring tons of money, right? Let's put it this way. If you have an oil processing company, would you make money or not? Would you make a lot of money or not? Put a yes or no. If you had an oil processing company somewhere in, I don't know, in Dubai maybe, or any part of the world, put a yes or no. Of course you will. I mean, it is obvious, right? So the business idea is not unusual. I mean, it's quite clear now. But then, what does it have to do with me, right? I mean, would I be capable of actually building this factory, of managing all the legislative bodies, of all the procedures and so on and so forth? So yes, the business model and the project and the niche and the money is there. I do agree with this, but it's not about my team. It's not about me. So it's very important to combine the two things, right? So our task, of course, is to show that there is a team, that our team is backed by the best professionals in this specific field, in terms of experts at least, and that we have an operational team of exceptional performance who would have some things as a past experience, who actually achieved similar results already in similar fields, or maybe in this field specifically. So that the investor, again, he says, okay, I do see that there is money in the area. Yeah, I do believe that the project can actually be profitable. Yes, I can see the team is quite professional. They are supported by very good, exceptional professionals and experts. So they're quite interested. Let's see what they have to offer. But then the third thing, of course, is as the reaction of the investor, is that the investor needs to see the benefits for himself from this investment, right? And again, from the presentation itself. Now, what happens in most cases, again, is we're focusing mostly on our needs as founders. We're saying, look, we have a project, we have a team, here's where we're standing, we need $1 million, full point. So you're sitting there as an investor saying, okay, this is your task. Now, what does it have to do with me? You need your $1 million, go ahead and, find this 1 million. Well, why do you come to me? See, I mean, it's not about selling, right? It doesn't tell me as the investor, what do I have to gain from it? What is my profit, right? What is my benefit from it? So apparently in here, we need to show him at least the numbers, that out of the 1 million that we as a project expect to receive from the investment, you as the investor would receive so much money and then in this or that form. So we need to show how exactly the investor would make money from this project, how much, when, what alternatives, in terms of like equity or debt or like tokens or whatever, right? And what is there, and is there any sort of protection from risk and so on. So that's the the third thing. Now, let's just go through them once again, imagining that we're investors. So we're sitting there as an investor. There is a project in front of us pitching, and we're saying, okay, yes, I do believe that we can make money in this industry, that it could be profitable. I do believe that the team can do something significant here. They're quite strong. I do see that I can make some money out of it. Yeah, you can make money of it, but there's no rush. I mean, if I don't make money, so what? I mean, at least I wouldn't lose this money, right? So, hey, there's no pressure. So this fourth thing is exactly the spark that that allows us to sell the project, the final project, to the investor. When there's this there's this connection in between the needs of the investor and our project as a tool to actually allow this investor to reach his or that particular tool, particular needs. Now, how is it done? This part requires us, again, all of these all of these reactions of investors, 4 reactions of investors, is our job as founders, right? If the investor is not reaching some of the reactions, it means that we haven't done something correctly. Again, if you do understand this, please put a plus on this. It's not that it's happening by itself. It's the result of our work. If we didn't manage to get this at least one reaction from the investor, there is no deal. And there is nobody who can do it for us. None. No one. Now, what happens here again? We need to identify investors' current needs, problems, and desires. And we need to build our proposal to the problem which investor is trying to solve and to offer him the solution through our project. I'll give you an example. It's actually one of my personal stories. At the time when I was raising money for my energy drink, I was going through tons of people, and at some stage I started talking to one guy who was pretty packed, to be honest. He had like a few gas stations, outside of Moscow, and was working for one of the biggest oil companies here, providing some drill machines basically for them. So I'm coming to him, like we had about three discussions with him already, 3 meetings, and I see that he's like halfway through, right? So he does believe that the project is fine. He sees that, I have like tons of experience in previous companies in different countries, and there is money for him to be made as well, but there is no this spark, so he's not like full buy-in. There's no full buy-in. So I'm coming to this office, and before the office, I'm thinking about this one of the idea basically, and then we're going through. So I came to the office, right? I mean, we're sitting there in the meeting room. I'm going through my pitch session again, showing him slides, and eventually I'm seeing the same reaction, like no difference. So later on, I'm saying, look. We've gone this through like, I don't know, 4 times already, and I can see that you're very close. You can see that, okay, the project is fine. There's money to be made, and there's experience in the team, and so on. And if you allow me to ask me a very strange question, maybe in a way, can you tell me like what's your wildest idea in 10 years from now? Like, imagine that everything in your life has happened. Like all of your dreams completed. So what this could be? I mean, to be honest, it's very interesting for me as well, because I know that those investors for me are like a completely different type of people, right? I mean, you have a lot of money, right? You manage this money, so you definitely have your own desires. For me, it's very interesting to actually know what people like yourself are living with in terms of your needs. And the guy I mean, he laughed a little bit initially, but then he said, look, honestly, I like to be, like basically surfing on board, right? And I'm saying, well, good. It means that, I mean, during the winter time, it's quite okay to actually do snowboarding, right? Because there's like lots of hills here, and the infrastructure is set. But I guess during the summertime, it's quite difficult, right? Because you need to, I don't know, go to some Bali or Thailand or Madagascar or somewhere else where you have waves, and it's quite expensive, I guess. And you need to be disconnected from like the life here and the environment and your family. And he goes, no, there is infrastructure here in Russia, in Moscow as well. You have all this. There is a few locations where you have. Boats, like special boats, and the guys, and then he starts describing the life of these guys. He's saying it's a fantastic life, you live on the boats, on the sun. They're usually packed with offers, and the people who come to them, they're quite, packed with money as well, because it's an expensive type of sport. So it's a good network. It's it's very pleasant, and there's like a team of people that are very, very comfortable with each other and stuff. So it's it's a lifetime I would love to live. Usually, driving these boats, doing some exercises by myself, and getting paid for this. So it's a fantastic thing, and it would be great, of course, to have a stable source of money, in a business anyway, or something like this, and just exercise wakeboarding. So I'm saying, look, okay, and how much money the boat costs? So he gives me the number. I'm taking the calculator, pushing some numbers there, showing him the numbers and saying, okay, give me one, if you're putting this amount of money to me, a year and a half from now, you have 2 boats. You should see his face. I mean, it looked like there was like an atomic explosion in his head. It was like, oh my God. So the guy jumped, literally. You know what happened? I mean, okay, place a bet. Did he give me the money or not? Try to write something down in chat. No. Ron Anthony, yeah. So apparently he did. Apparently he did. So in I think it was like in 2 or 3 weeks' time, he actually went around some of his buddies and some of his family circles because he didn't have enough money, and realizing all the risks. I mean, completely realizing. He brought me $500,000, and the story goes, fortunate enough that in 9 months down the road, he sold his share in the company for 5 times the amount that he invested. He bought a boat. It still is, operational in one part of Moscow. It's called Crocus City. Some of those who knows this place would definitely recognize it in Russia, in Moscow. And the funniest story is that in 2015, he got first place in national All Russia Championship in wakeboarding. Can you imagine that? So he became the best wakeboarder in Russia in 2015. So it's really interesting. So that's why I'm saying that these 4 reactions is something that it requires work from us. We need to show not only that there is a good project, not only that there is an experienced team, not only that there is enough money to be made not in 5% of share in the company goal, and how much money is it really for me eventually. So I give you the money, show me in terms of money how much I'm making. And also the 4th reason, there is no jump into the project right now. Okay, now going further on to the presentation itself, the set of the presentation, right? This is a standard presentation that, like 8 blocks of an ideal investment presentation that we advise people to actually to have, right? Now we don't say that this is it has to be strictly like this, but judging by the results of all people who would all the projects since 2013 in different countries, in different areas, this is exactly the set of the presentation that that usually gives most of the results to those who want to raise the money. And let me just go through some of the stages here and the blocks so you would understand this. Again, please make a copy of the slides in case you don't receive the presentation later on. Guys from our team, please, can you write down in chat box if we would be sending this presentation around to those who are here? I think we would do this anyway, but please, again, just to be on the safe side, put a... Okay, thanks. Yes, just make a print screen of this, okay? Now, the first thing, what we need to do is, on our first slide, we need to set the goal of the presentation. Now, let me ask you this question now. Can you write down your understanding of the goal of the presentation? So the first thing you show to the investor, what do you show there? Could you write it down, please, in chat? Get their attention. You don't really write it down, Jawad, right? get the meeting with investor. You're already at the meeting, Ritesh, sorry. Attention, grab a connection. Brief description of the project. Okay. No, I'm saying just exactly, your first slide, right? You're sitting in front of the investor, you're showing the slide, what it is, what does it have to say there? What do you show there? Show limitations. Again, one more. Current state, okay? Mission, okay? More things. Project overview, title, one-liner. Okay, Ritesh? What is there in one-liner, please? Graph the table of the industry project belongs. Okay, now, elevator pitch. Yes, in a way, explain about the project. It's just one slide, right? I mean, we just show one slide and it gives a very brief description in one line, exactly. Okay, exactly, Ritesh. Now, again, for those who are present today at our session, we'll give you maybe a few examples of some of the presentations that we're pitching on our events, so that you could at least have a feel of what the presentation is comprised of, okay? But let's just go to this first stage. Now, remember what we were saying. Our project, our investment presentation, is not about how we're going to present, is not how we're going to implement this project or build it or reach some targets. It's our internal tasks. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to do with the investor, right? So yes, it's our problem, exactly. Now, investment deals are about selling. So if we want to sell something to the investor, the first thing that has to be on our slide is the offer to the investor, right? For those who agree with me, put a plus. The first thing, we're offering something to the investor. So right from the start, this is what we have to tell him. We have to tell him we are offering for the investors to enter this or that project in this or that area with an investment size of this amount and earnings of this size at this period of time. So this is just one sentence, as I'm saying. So basically, we're offering investors to enter our blockchain or Swissborg private banking sort of blockchain project with an investment ticket from this or that amount in millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars and earnings of so much within 3 months from the investment stage, for example, or with investment at pre-ICO stage and earnings at ICO, this amount. So if you understand the difference, again, put a plus, please. It's very, very important. It should be the first slide. Why is this so important? Because all investors have different ticket sizes. They have different portfolios of industries that they are looking at, right? So geography, industry, and the time frame where they would expect the money to be earned. So basically, when you're an investor, you're sitting in a chair, you see this project, and right from the start, he's saying, look, this is a certain amount, this is the industry, this is the geography, this is your earning. So he's saying, okay, the amount is comfortable for me, the industry I know of, the geography is fine, the time frame is fine, okay, let's listen to what this guy is here to offer. Then you go to the slide number 2, and immediately you're showing him the team, or basically the stressing point here is not about the list of people with pictures that you have there, that, okay, here's our CTO, here's our CEO, here's our founder, marketing, sales, whatever, right? It's not about your role models or role plays here, that, we have a team, they're doing something, whatever. The investor needs to be assured that this team has enough experience to reach these targets. So basically, our task then is to show this past experience, right? Again, if you agree, put a plus. Which means that we need to state some facts, not thoughts, or not thoughts, but facts. Facts meaning that these are the names of the companies that these people have worked. logos, if they're recognizable, of big, huge multinational companies, for example, as clients or as former employees or whoever, right? That you somehow are, or the team is somehow connected to this sort of business. Now, and numbers that you're giving there in terms of revenue, profits, maybe like millions, like tens of millions of dollars, thousands of whatever, that you managed as the revenue, you've provided this for the clients, and so on. And then again, the numbers in terms of number of subscribers, number of tons of transported goods, liters of drank volume, whatever, right? Some figures and numbers, because numbers are hard facts. They are not opinions. They are hard facts that you cannot have opinion about, right? And the third thing is about geography. Usually you need to surprise people with like countries where you worked or the team worked or covered through different experience, countries, cities, whatever else, a number of employees, for example, things like that. So this thing, it's usually 1 or 2 slides, not more, where you show again the team, photos of the team, and stress their past results, with basically with a comment on top of it that the team has experienced, reached similar targets in previous occupations, and this is usually enough, right? Now after that you come up to what we call the business idea, which is stressed with through like 3. It goes through 3 blocks, and we'll go through them just right now. So basically, again, just imagine yourself being an investor. So you're sitting in front of a stage. You have a project. He's saying, okay, here's the offer. He says, okay, the offer is fine. Then you say, here's our team experienced in that, logos of huge international companies, millions and thousands of people, subscribers, clients, covered this geography, so many people under employment, blah blah blah, whatever. And you impress. You say, wow, interesting, very very strong team. Let's see what they decided to do right now. So you're already pumped up, right? You're warmed up to actually to look into this presentation at the moment to make sure that you don't miss something. And here you prepared the investor for presenting your business idea. And here we usually we're faced as founders. We're faced with another problem. Usually, what we do would start with describing our solution. The way it works. We developed this. It works like this, and so on and so forth. The problem comes from the fact that we're living with this problem. We live day and night, right, for years usually. And it means that we're very, very deep. We understand the context, the environment, deep and very, very big details. And we expect that everybody else understands the whole situation like this, right? Exactly like we do. And usually this is not the case. So in most cases, whenever we dive from the start into very deep details, we lose investors, because they're saying like, who the hell said that this is needed in the first place? So that's why there is a way of describing business ideas in a certain logic that is more understandable to investors. And basically this 3-step process, for you to understand, was developed by some of the best consulting companies like McKinsey. Do you know McKinsey, by the way? No? If you do, put a plus as well. So what they write down is they're saying, look, any business opportunity, any business idea that you offer, because it's very virtual, it's not understandable, it's not tangible, right? You cannot touch it. You have to present it in 3 steps. First, context. Second, problem. Third, solution. Context. You start with context. You say, what is going on in the industry? There is this industry. It is described like this. Its market size is like that in dollars, euros, whatever. The growth rate is like this. the main players are like that, and something of this kind is happening. So basically, you're just describing it as a person who just, you come into a zoo and you're seeing that the elephant is walking, right? So it doesn't have to do anything with you. It's just an industry. It's growing. It's something is happening there by itself, neutrally. Then you go to step number 2, and you say, in this industry, there is this problem. And then you're describing this problem in a way that the investor or any person could connect to this problem and say, oh my God, I do agree with you. It's terrible. It's terrible. So you have to describe this problem in such a way, again, that it's not some like hokey pokey sort of thing. It has to be very, very clear and understandable. Like in terms of investing, right? You're an investor. You want to invest some money especially in cryptocurrency, and it's just impossible to do it, right? I mean, you have to buy all these stupid wallets. You have to spend tons of time to find some what do you call them? Exchanges where you can exchange money for this or that. It's high commissions. It's not transparent. It's very risky because you can lose your money. Now, it's outside of legislative sort of environment, so you can lose money any time you invest into somebody. There is no track record for those companies who are claiming their big investment funds right now, and so on and so forth. So it's just untransparent. It's it's very expensive. It's risky to lose all your money, and it's just not comfortable for the investors. So just exactly in this way, basically it's one slide, and you just stress all these points. And when you describe it, staying on the stage, it has to be very, very connecting to the audience, right? Understandable to the audience. And then you go to step number 3, and you say, that's exactly how we're solving this problem. Here's our solution. We'll make it cheap. We'll make it comfortable. We'll make it easy. Very regulated, so that you would not spend or lose a single dollar, so on and so forth. This is what we solve. So you connect to the problem, and then the investor says, wow, good, I understand it. Okay, this is the industry. It's growing. I do agree that it's going to grow. The problem, I totally agree with you. This is a completely terrible thing. It has to be changed. Great that you're changing it. And then later on you go, where are you now? You're saying, okay, we are at this stage, a startup or MVP, or I don't know, we already set up business with first contracts, and we want to grow it up, scale it up, and so on. And then when you show where you stand at the moment, saying that so many clients, the revenues, blah, 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 whatever, and then you say, fast forward, in 3-5 years, here's what our business is going to look like. Usually it's a P&L, a short P&L, saying that this is our revenue, this is our number of clients, number of offices, whatever. This is our earnings, whatever, and the returns, right? This is our size of business in 3-5 years from now. Now, to reach this target, we need so much money. See, this is it's all very logical, right? You say one thing, and then the second thing is connected to the previous thing. So the investor is there to listen to you, and he understands that it flows naturally, all your presentation. Here's how much money we need to actually reach this target. And usually you say, the money that we're asking, that we're looking for, so much is going to go on marketing, on development, on the team, on some capex maybe, and so on. And then usually it's a good thing to show the time frame, that's saying, okay, this is the amount we need to be, in the first quarter, then this is the second month, so much we need on the third month. And after that, you give basically an explicit offer to the investor. Usually you give alternatives, like 2 or 3 alternatives. You say, okay, this is so much that we're giving to you as as part of the share of the company, maybe another alternative is a discount of the tokens, or maybe a combination of both too. Usually it's a bigger description of what you give on the first page here, right? And then you have a contact page, of course. Don't lose it out, it's stupid, but many times it happens when I mean, sitting on the side of the investment side, right? When I receive presentations, you may send the presentation to some of friends, in other funds, and they would be looking at the, in the presentation, saying, okay, quite interesting project. Give me your contact. Give me, their contacts to us. So it's, it's wasting time, and they need to make an effort to actually ask these contacts from me, right? Imagine if it goes through like hands on hands on hands, and then eventually people would be interested in your presentation, but would never be able to find contacts of you. Now, why we are so deeply going into all these details? Because we understand that these presentations are usually the tools for you to raise money at mostly at the pre-ICO stage, right? Those who agree, please put a plus. Pre-ICO stage. The amount of money that you need to later on spend mostly on legal and marketing, right? Sorry about writing here, it's not very convenient with a mouse. And so yeah, you spend this money, you raise this amount of money at pre-ICO stage, spend it on marketing to get a good amount of subscriptions online to run a good ICO campaign and raise your millions or tens of millions of dollars for your ICO, right? So that's why all these efforts with presentations that we've gone through at the moment is the process that's needed for you to present your project in front of the audience of, CryptoBazar in our case, and then later on at events, or like private meetings with private investors. And since coming back to this first question, of course, the first offer, we put it in different color maybe. So your first offer here has to be dealing with how much money the investor is about to make at pre-ICO stage, when he gives you the money at pre-ICO stage, so that by the time when there is ICO and post-ICO, when you're traded on some exchanges, for example, if you're planning this, how much money he's going to make here if he gives you this money at pre-ICO stage, right? For those who have this idea in the head, please put number 1 in chat box. Okay, good. So this is pretty much the offer, right? Or usually it's a discount of the earnings, discount of a token, or maybe a certain earning that you can get additionally to the people. Usually what they say, I mean, judging from our experience from the teams that have were presenting projects at CryptoBazar events, what they're saying is look, at pre-ICO stage, we're planning to raise, let's say, $100,000 minimum, right? And we're giving a 50% discount and giving a 50% earnings to the investor at the ICO stage, with maybe a possibility to get half of the collected money at the time of ICO, basically by the time ICO is finished. Something like that, right? So people would, investors would understand how much money they can make, money-wise, how much money you are expecting to raise at this moment, and so on. Now, of course, some people are going at the pitch session at the time of token pre-sale, when the pre-ICO stage is finished and there is a full marketing campaign. Some of them are continuing to go through some events at the time the ICO is going, and they're saying, look, okay, there's so much money is left to be raised, so let's see then what it can do, pretty much. Okay. Now, just some few last questions. How to prepare for pitch session? There are several things that needs to be done. Now, we'll go through just a few of them. let's see. First of all, if you never had a chance or never practiced to present your project within a 3 minutes time frame, I'm still debating the role of a coin in the overall business model. This led me to doubt the suitability of my project for the style of financing. I understand, Sammy. It's just, I mean, what I can advise you, of course, is just to finalize your project and send it to the email that was shown initially. But I'm sure that you would receive a message beforehand on your email, apparently, just to have a look at it. I mean, we will see it and see if there could be any advice and if it would be suitable or not. Okay. So anyway, just let's stick to the plan. So basically, I would very much advise you to rehearse your presentation verbally. I don't know, in front of a mirror, or maybe just record yourself with a mobile phone to see, number one, that you would be capable of presenting your project within 3 minutes. And I can tell you one thing: if you never practice this, if you never tried this, it's impossible to do it. Just off topic. If you never practice this, okay? Without preparation, it's impossible to do, because you would always be, you would have some ideas in the head. You would just go sideways instead of sticking to the correct point and maybe the correct wording for the idea of the presentation. So please, rehearse it. Set your timer on 3 minutes. Try to present it. It would require you at least like half an hour, if not more, to actually practice it for a few days to make sure that you have a correct wording and you go through exactly the same pitch of that we discussed over here. First, you give an offer, so much money for the investor here and there. Here's the team. Experienced in this and that and that, these companies, these results, huge numbers, blah, blah, blah. Here's the business, the context is this, here's the problem, here's how we solve this problem, that's where we stand at the moment, that's where we're going to be in 3-5 years from now, this is how much money we need to reach this target in 3-5 years from now, this is how it's going to be used, the money, and these are the alternative investment schemes for the investor: big size, small size, tokens, share, whatever else, maybe credits, some other things, and then the context. So in 3 to 5 minutes. Now, what else? Let's see. 28. Right. Yeah, let's just go through this thing. And the final thing, of course, here is the task of collecting contacts. So basically, the result of all these events, result of presentations, is to present your project. To do not sit in the corner thinking that, okay, I've done my job, now let the universe and God come to me with, in the line of people with business cards. It's never going to happen. So it's our job to go around and pick business cards and set meetings. So we need to appoint dates and time for the next calls, maybe Skype calls or meetings, okay? Yes, Ritesh, it's 3 minutes to present and 5 minutes to questions and answers. Yes, it's a quite hard time frame. It is doable, it's not a big of a deal, but it's just a matter for the preparation. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Right. This is still. Yeah. Okay. You did manage to see some of the video reels. Now, if you have questions, we have about maybe 5 to 6 minutes before the end of the session. If you do have your questions, please ask them now, and let's go through them. And I would try to get back to our schedule, our time frame. Yeah, let's go here. So once again, by Saturday 16th, you're kindly asked to send your presentations in any form you think that are adequate for the presentation for your investors on this email, as you can see here in red. Info InvestBazar info@investbazar.pro. For those who didn't manage to send it by 11 p.m. Dubai time, it's going to be we will not allow the other people to actually go on this online test drive. Okay. Then on Monday 18th, we're going to run at 7 p.m. Dubai time online test drive of your presentation. So basically, you would be we would use the same webinar platform. You would need to select a quiet location, more or less, and with the earphones and stuff. So you would be given, you would run a test with our technical support people to make sure the connection is correct and so on, and then all of you, one by one, would be presenting your presentations online. Exactly like I'm sitting here, in the window where you can see my video. There's going to be two video windows. One of them is for you, so you would present your project in 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes is over, I would be asking you questions. We would simulate a situation as if I'm an investor, and I would be digging deeper into your project. And after that, there's going to be a small if we have time, a small discussion in terms of what could be done better with the presentation. After that, we take a certain time off to make sure that we go through the presentations and make our decision who is going to be allowed to present their projects at Dubai, at our CryptoBazar Dubai on September 27th. Okay, one person presents, but can a team of 2-3 people answer the question? Artem, yes, it can be done, of course, yeah, it's totally fine, because we do have a practice where a team actually presents the project, and apparently when there it's a good thing that there is a team and that there is a distribution of tasks in between the team, so it's totally fine. Gideon, is there a possibility of presenting to you face-to-face in Moscow? Gideon, it's quite a question. The organization, the organizers of this event, from Daria and our technical team. If you could write to them personally and see what we can do. Or you can find me in social networks, Facebook, Instagram, or wherever. It's very easy to find me here. So. Just write me a message there, maybe with a contact. At least what I can guarantee, what I can do is I can send the presentation to some of our team to have a look at it and maybe ask questions if I don't have time for this, because usually I don't, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, we can do that. Okay. Do you think it will be a good idea if I bring the prototype of my project to show that it works? Well, to be honest, it's hard for me to understand what exactly you're doing, apparently. So by the time when we meet each other next Monday, from what I understand, it would be great to go deeper into your project and see and make that decision, right? But usually it gives a better impression when you don't just show slides, but actually show a prototype, or make even people, to touch it, or I don't know, to have a look at it at least. So usually it's a better thing, of course. Ritesh, what happens after the online test drive? Ritesh, after the test line, after online test, we're taking the time to make a decision of which projects we are selecting and offering to present their projects on our stage. So, because there's going to be a pool of projects coming from here, from the Russian-speaking community, and from some local communities. So there's going to be a mix. And apparently, it's not, from what you know. I'm sure you know that not all the projects will be capable of taking the stage. So we're selecting the strongest ones, of course. And but at the same time, we're very interested in in a variety of projects. So variety of projects in terms of industry, in terms of teams, in terms of geography as well. So that's why we're very, very interested in making sure that most of the projects from our audience right now sitting in the chat room is actually dominating. You know, it would be much, much better for us, of course. So please, please, please do your job. Okay. Are the investors interested in shares in the company or coin offering? Sahara Chain Giath, right? I'm sorry that if I'm pronouncing you not correctly. Yeah. Look, honestly, it's usually a question of each individual investor separately, because some of them, if they do, here's what happens. Those who don't really believe in the project, they usually tend to ask for coins or percent of the proceeds that you see that you collect. So they usually say, look, you collect whatever you collect. I want to have, I don't know, 5% of the proceeds or whatever, right, of whatever you collect right now. So I take it and I just, you know, leave you with kisses, so to say. All right. Now, those who believe in your project, they tend to negotiate on the share with you because they understand that if you grow and they believe that you grow, it means that their investment would be, you know, timefold through years and years. Usually, they ask for a combination of both. So that's why by the time when you come to the offer, hold on a second. If you remember our last slides of the presentation. Come on. Let's see. Here. Yeah. So if you remember this part, right? Number 7. Sorry that the 7. Number 7. When you need to make like 2 or 3 offers, saying that an offer of just tokens is this, an offer of just shares is this, an offer as a combination of this and that is this. So the best approach is like that, okay? How many will be selected? Here's 2 things. Yeah, very good question, Ritesh. There's 2 sections of where the projects would be presenting their ideas to investors. One of them, the traditional approach, is the pitch session, where you have a stage. You're given the 3 minutes, and you're presenting to the full audience, and then later you have questions, and it goes. I mean, it goes how it goes, so to say. That's one portion, and in there we're going to have from 10 to 12 projects, not more, because it's going to take time and it's going to be lengthy, right? If it's going to be more, but on top of that, we're going to have a portion that's called a section that's called Invest Spinner. You know, like it's like a speed dating or like business dating, whatever you call it, where you have 15 investors sitting on the chairs. And then 15 projects, and you have practically 1 minute in front of an investor to actually move around, literally to exchange contacts, really, because mostly you won't be able to really present your project in full, but exchange eye contact, exchange business cards, and then after that, in the coffee break or during the gala dinner, to set talks with them or set separate meetings with them. So there's going to be all in all about 25 to 27, maybe to 30 projects, okay? All right, what else? Good. What is, for what investor weight that we speak about the aspects, safety, security, and legality? Mohammed, it's, look, it's a good question. Many investors would be asking about this, and we're going to have, again, let's put it this way. The whole event, CryptoBazar, is going to be having 3 sections. The first section is basically a panel discussion where we're going to have these renowned speakers sitting on the board, and I would be asking questions to them in terms of legislation, in terms of the future of blockchain, the cryptocurrencies, ICOs, some limitations, some advantages, and so on and so forth. And they would be disclosing all these questions to the audience, maybe with some questions from the audience, provided that we have time for this. This section would last for about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. After that, we're going to have a short break and an invest spinner, this thing with 15 investors and 15 projects. After that, we're going to have another short break, and from that time, we're going to have this pitch session block for the projects off the stage. Now, at the time of, provided that you are at the stage and you've given your presentation, 3 minutes presentation, and there's somebody who's asking you a question about how you're structured legally and so on and so forth, you can easily say, look, I know we're short on time. I'm ready to give you like a brief explanation of how it's working later on, maybe after this presentation is finished, because we're pressed on time. So please, let's just discuss it separately separately and individually. So this approach is also fine. Okay. In our case, we're launching the ICO on the 23rd. Good, yeah. So it means that you could just come and say, hey, we've already launched our ICO, we already collected so much money, here's the offer, and expecting your votes and your money. Okay, I have no option to offer shares. Fine, so don't offer shares. You say, okay, this is what the amount of, here's the amount that we're collecting, here's much, how much money we already raised. Here's what we expect for our coins and tokens to actually grow in value. Here's why. So this is it. Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Can we discuss offline after this? Keith, yeah. Write to me, please, in separately in like I said, maybe somewhere in Facebook or Instagram, okay? And we'll see what we can do. I cannot guarantee that we can do it quickly because tomorrow is my last day in Moscow, and I'm flying to Shanghai because we're having a conference in there, and there's going to be like a very packed calendar of activities and meetings. So I have to, apologize if I don't ask you very quickly, but at least I would direct your question to some of the people from the team, okay? All right, guys. Well, yeah, great. Well, thanks very much for this online session. It's been very nice to meet and talk to you and to myself, I guess, in the video as well. And thanks for your questions. It's always good to at least hear the feedback and to see that I'm not the only one in the room. And thanks for your very good, very specific questions. It's very nice to see that the audience is very prepared and on the same stage. Okay, so just once again, please, thanks very much, Ritesh. Yeah. Again, so just to repeat, please, don't forget about this date. Okay, Saturday, 16th. Send your presentation, whatever is ready, to make sure that we go through the slides, see what's ready, see what needs to be maybe altered a little bit, and so that we have a little bit more time for the feedback sessions. And then on Monday, please be prepared for online, for the pitch sessions online. It's going to be more relaxed, of course, than a traditional way, but it's better to prepare yourself as if it is a real set of negotiation. Imagine that I'm an investor that can really invest into your project, because I am. And we do have a fund, and we do invest into projects, and especially in pre-ICO and ICO stages. So please be prepared. I'm really looking forward to seeing your projects. It's really very, very exciting, honestly. And we as a team are very, very excited to see more projects from all over the world. So please do your part. We're very willing, very eager to actually see more and more projects outside of the Russian-speaking community, to be honest, because in here we know pretty much everybody already. Okay, so thanks a lot again, and talk to you soon, I guess. Have a good week. Bye-bye.